hated the helmet. Absolutely hated it because I don't know. I just maybe I have a funny head or something. But I'd be in a helicopter, and we'd say, "All right, we're here. Just get out." And I'd look down, and it's like 10, 15 feet to the ground. And they said, "No, you're here. Get out!" You know, boom, and the very first landing, the gunnery sergeant like kicked me and said, "Get out!" You know, and I fly down, hit the ground, the helmet comes down, bang, hits me right in the nose. I think I broke my nose about 3 times. And I was always losing it. And when I didn't lose, I would take it and throw it away. And then I put on one of the soft packs, you know, that weren't so hard. Yes, sir. No, I got hit with shrapnel. It's like if a grenade explodes, or and it's flying steel and whatnot. Yes, ma'am. Well, it wasn't from a high thing, but
like 15, 16 feet, which is pretty high. But
yeah, it was high enough when you're wearing like 100 pounds of gear.
I like that. It was good. So my question to you is, what do you think? Do you have any questions about it? Or go ahead, you came home. Okay?
And I still regret that.
We became friends through a common group. See, there's a lot of what we call veterans groups. We get together and we feel comfortable with each other more so than others sometimes. And we join at different times this group called Military Orders First Parts. And to be a member of this group, you have to have a young adults at school to talk about what really happened. And so these are things, but Kevin and I were in the same place, but not at the same time.
You guys know Veterans Haven North? Anybody hear of that?
You know what?
Know what Veterans Haven North is, or where it is? Veterans Haven North is now occupies the top of the hill where the Mount Kip used to be, Glen Gardner Hospital for Chest Disease, you know. And it's for homeless veterans, or previously homeless veterans. And a lot of the veterans had troubles adjusting. They had drug problems. They had, you know, nowhere to go. I was very lucky. I was the youngest of 7, and we had I had a lot of family support, you know, when I was having problems. And a lot of guys didn't have that support and don't have it today. So that's right over here.
A horrific thing, it stays with you, and you come down with something called PTSD.
You guys ever hear of that? Raise your hand.
Post-traumatic stress syndrome.
All right, everybody.
And that, you know, it's even firefighters, even the guys out there on the front lines today. It doesn't have to be a war. It could be anything that has hampered your life and made such an impact on your life that you don't forget it. And a lot of Vietnam veterans have PTSD. That means, you know, sometimes you get a reserve, you have nightmares at night, you know, things like that, just that you don't forget. So we try to help them out, and it's gratifying to help other people.
There's lots of things that you can do.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for years, talking to different groups. But if you look at Joe and I, Joe's a very successful businessman and whatnot. We're the lucky ones. We came home, and a lot of people I know just tried to put it behind them and get a job and go to school or whatever they could do. And doesn't mean that there's nothing, they're not bothered, we're still bothered, but it's just different. Like I said, I had a good family support system.
That means a lot.
Yeah, and we're the lucky ones, you know.
They want to know how you...
I didn't get down fast enough. I was hit with shrapnel from an exploding mortar round. You know, like when you see the cannons or whatever, boom, you know.
You know, I was running across
the back.
I was running across the field trying to help somebody who was hurt, and same thing. The North Viet Cong, the Viet Cong was throwing in mortars, and when that mortar hits and explodes, it's hundreds of fragments, and I was in the way of a fragment, and I got wounded on that. So, you know, it could have been worse, that's for sure. But, what do you do? Yeah, oh yeah, oh sure.
I see, yeah. but-
You have to be really on death's door to
We
get out
talked
of
about that,
Go
remember?
to Tokyo, usually they send them to Tokyo or something, but yeah.
And the hospital should.
Yeah.
I was very lucky in another sense because the Marine Corps was, when we first started putting American troops into Vietnam, the Marines went in first at Da Nang and everything, and so when they started to draw down, they said, we're gonna take the Marines out first. They came in first, and the 9th Marines, which a couple of our other friends were in, I tried to get the one guy to come today, but he had another thing to do. The 9th Marines got hurt the worst of all of the different regiments. And so they had all these empty billets to fill, they had positions to fill, you know, jobs. And they started taking troopers from every other regiment that had Purple Hearts. And they said, everybody with 2 Purple Hearts, and they sent them to the 9th Marines. And I only have 1, but I was lucky because they ran out of guys with 2. And I got sent to the 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines. Adam was in 1st Battalion, 9th Marines. And we were on some of the first Marines pulled out. So I spent a couple months in Okinawa to the end of my 12-month tour, or 13-month tour.
And I was in the Army. There was Navy. Most of the Navy was, you know, they had a battleship New Jersey off the coast. Then the Air Force, of course, they were just bombing every day and doing backup strikes for us and all. But I want to hear kind of a funny story. There's fun stories in Vietnam too.
That's hard to
I talked
imagine.
about, you know, you landed in Vietnam on day 1, and you knew if you were alive, 1 year later you would go home. So that was the impetus for me to stay alive, was I knew in July 21 I was coming home, if I was alive. So you have a calendar, and you mark down every day you were alive, and day you count down. So finally, I get up there, and you go to a local checkout place, and they go, okay, I'm coming home. Get me a flight out of here. So he says, okay, give me your papers. And he signs, and he goes, okay, we're going to reassign you to a fort in New Jersey somewhere. I go, what do you mean? Vietnam had a thing called 90-day early out. If you were coming home, and when you're drafted, you had 2 years. So if you were coming home and you had 90 days left or less, they would let you go home. They wouldn't want you back in the Army. So I go, oh, that's great. So I went there, the guy goes, well, you got 97 days left in the Army, so we're going to reassign you to a fort. And I go, no, I want out of this place. I want out of the Army. I've had it. He goes, we got 97 days. He says, if you can come back here with 90, we'll get you out right away. So I go, so I had to stay 7 more days in Vietnam. I volunteered to stay 7 more days. But I went to the old man, which is the commanding guy. I know him very well, and he said, Dad, stay. I won't send you out on any more missions. You could go and do whatever you want, hide, stay under your bunk for 7 days. So I stayed for 7. I stayed there for.
He's not kidding.
I'm kidding. I stayed there for 7 extra days, and then on that day, I went right back up there. I said, "Give me my plane," and I got on the plane, and then got out of there. And I was discharged the day or 2 days after I landed, because I didn't want to stay in the Army anymore.
Having so many days left in Martin, we used to call people short timers when they were getting down. And the shorter you were with time left in Vietnam, the more nervous you were. It was like you could hear the clock ticking all the time, and very short. And they said, I will send all 3 or 4 of them back at the same time, even though there might have been 5 days between the, you know. They thought, oh, I'll get on this chopper and go, because it was bad weather out there. And the chopper took off, and then they said, well, we got all this extra stuff, and they loaded it down. And these poor short timers get on the thing, and about the helicopter took off, and something failed, and he go took the, and here, whoa! He came out front screaming. It wasn't. We knew they weren't going to die. If they're going to land, it pilot, so I'm going to take it down. And they hadn't been shot at or anything.
And one of them that comes to mind all the time is, being a platoon medic, I was responsible for my guys. They looked at me to save their life. And when we were in the Mekong Delta, we used to go out on what's called ambush patrols. Not very nice word, but we would go out with a handful of guys, and we would stay in the cemetery and sleep in the cemetery every night. This is a true story. And I used to sleep with a tombstone for a pillow. And the idea of it is, in Vietnam, when it got dark, anybody that was walking around could be killed. So the local people knew not to leave their house, their hut, after dark. Not very nice, but that's the rules were. So we would sit, 5, 6 of us sit in a cemetery and wait for anything to move and have to shoot them. So I would go out and sit there with them because the men wanted the medic to go with them. So I'd go back to the old man, I said, listen, you got me going out on every ambush. It's like, geez, kind of not fair. Because what you have to do is just go out there and go to sleep. So I said, what? So I used to sleep in the cemetery.
They didn't make you stand watch?
No. I would never do today. I don't mean shoot or anything, just the things we had to do. You know, it's an amazing what the human being can do when forced to do it. And you'll see that too as you grow up. You do things when you're forced to do it maybe because you have to. And that's how you get through it.
And you have to follow orders.
Have to follow
Well,
orders.
and that's why you see, it's not the young people in wars, because it's not an old, no place for,
Yeah, you tell me now to do that, I think, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. You know, you get older, you don't care, but young, you okay, everybody out, let's go get them, and you go, oh my God. So,
well, they say we would make the best soldiers to put us in it now at our age, because we're cranky and we're already dead to start with. And we don't sleep very well, so we probably all stand and watch all day.
yeah, like you get in the helicopter, going on a mission, you go, okay, you know, you do that. And, I got a funny story, it's kind of, hope it's not appropriate, but I tell it to people. It's in Vietnam.
No, I didn't do that.
Can you explain it because maybe some of the kids, they know what
Well,
the heart looks like.
This is what we look at, and you know, I think that's my look. It kind of brings me back to times in my life where I did things where I didn't think I could ever do. I was pushed to the limit like Kevin was. You can do more than you think you can do. Here I am, Kevin and I were 18, doing things that I would never, if my father and mother said, do this, like, yeah, I'm not going to happen. But, you know, so it's for that, you know, the 2 patches were the outfits I served with in Vietnam. The big gold, not gold, one in there with the 100 count is given veterans as saying thank you. The other ones on the round is my caduceus. This is called the caduceus, which is I think of Greek. You'll see that anywhere. That's a symbol for medicine or something. A medic would wear that on his dress uniform. This is one of the birds I used to fly, and I love them, and I did medevacs. The helicopter today, I hear that helicopter, it still takes me right back. You can tell it sounds of a Huey in a heartbeat. It's got a certain sound that you hear, you know what it is. And these are Vietnam, you get this from the United States government, campaign needles, and here's my Purple Heart. This is a unit citation from the 9th Infantry for work, one of the operations we did. These are other various medals you get.
So each one of them has a medal with that corresponds to it. And when you're wearing, I don't know what uniform you would, like your
Class A.
Class A,
Right.
okay. But we would wear dress blues.
Yeah, you guys would right.
That's pretty impressive.
And we just go out there and stomp around and get a bunch of Marines tripping and falling and go, oh, for crying out loud, and somebody would start shooting at them. And then they'd call in a fire mission, and one of these pilots would have to put down his reflector and get, and they would do all the work. The boom, 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 they'd be dropping stuff all over the place. And we say, yeah, we should.
Yeah,
Easier to get.
yeah.
We talked about, when we went to visit the wall, many of the kids were talking about, and I did too, having like relatives that they didn't even know, I didn't even know. I had an uncle I didn't even know was in the war, never mentioned it, ever. Ever, 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 ever. And I was telling the kids, I found out my uncle would always leave the 4th of July parties before the fireworks.
Which one?
One of my uncles.
What was the book?
He would leave, we would have a 4th of July party every year when I was little, and we would always do fireworks.
Go to the sound.
But he would
Oh,
leave,
yeah.
and I never knew why, and I said to my parents, like, why does Uncle Ernie always leave? And they said, well, didn't you know? I'm like, no, he was in Vietnam, and the sound brings him back
Oh,
to
yeah.
the bombing, and I never knew it, and he is still to this day, never talked to me about it. Knowing that I'm a history teacher, it's just too painful.
To this day, my wife gets the biggest kick of not sneaking up on me, but when sudden things happen to me, I jump. Like, I can't.
We
help it.
startle easily.
I startle so easy. She'll walk in a room, I'm doing something, and I go like that, why did you? She goes, I'm not, I didn't hear you or something, but I still, to this day, I jump out of my skin for no reason. I don't have a reason to give you, but I still, to this day, I don't know.
Brings you back.
I don't know if
It's
you,
startling.
I don't know if you saw the thing in the news just the other day. Veterans or whatever, and God bless them, veterans, but they were suing certain corporations or the government because they got defective ear protection. You see that?
Yeah.
We had no. No, we never had anything. No.
I still have
I
today.
said, somebody said to the sergeant, or the gunnery sergeant, hey, you don't need no stinking air protection, you're a Marine, get out there, and my doctor, and I can only hear him, like Joseph, when I go to bed, when it's quiet.
You got a cricket in your ear?
Cricket, yeah. And I said, the doctor said, doesn't that drive you crazy? And I said, I said, I could be the middle of January. I lay my head on the pillow, I feel like I'm camping by the lake, because I hear the crickets go, it's like a summer night,